You know what the Fire Lord is doing is wrong. So you don't have to be like him. You can show some compassion.
How dare you? I'm the crown prince of the Fire Nation. I will be the example for all firebenders. And my father is a great man. Compassion? Compassion is a sign of weakness.
Welcome to Avatar Nation, a podcast all about the Netflix live adaptation of Avatar: The Last Airbender. Whether you're a longtime fan, like us, or you're new to the Avatarverse, join us as we dive into each episode and analyze the retelling of TV's greatest adventure. Welcome back, guys. I'm your host, Pauline.
And I'm Wes. And I find myself kind of rooting for Fire Lord Ozai.
Oh, welcome to the dark side.
Yeah.
Why is that?
I don't know. I feel like he's trying to teach Zuko how to be a king.
Oh my goodness. I guess that's one way to put it, but then does that mean you're rooting for what he did?
I think he taught Zuko a valuable lesson.
You're being sarcastic, right?
No. Look at me in the eyes, everyone.
I'm looking at you. Now I can look at you. You were wearing the blue spirit mask earlier. So.
Yes. I have got my blue spirit mask here. I can put it on.
Well, don't, because
Can
then...
you guys hear me? Okay. I'll take it off.
Yeah. We're not a video podcast.
What a great
yet,
episode, huh?
It was. I am very excited to talk about this one. I know we're recording this a little bit late just because with all of the Easter stuff over the weekend.
Zombie Day.
We need to figure out, maybe for the next season, we need to figure out a better recording schedule because right now, Wes and I, we usually watch and rewatch episodes during the week and then, to prepare for the podcast, and then we'll record over the weekend. But the thing is, sometimes things happen on the weekend.
It's life. Life happens.
It is life. But then I feel bad because we say we're going to come
No
out
one's going to
episode
be
every
upset.
Tuesday.
We're not getting paid to do this. This is fun.
Not yet. Who wants to pay us? Keep putting on this podcast.
Next up, our Patreon. No,
But
I'm just joking.
But yeah, so we got to figure out how to improve our recording schedule ahead of time.
We are procrastinators.
It's not that we're procrastinators. It's that usually with a lot of podcasts, people will record 6 or 7 episodes ahead of time.
So
and then
everyone that knows you that just heard you say that is laughing.
Why?
You just said you weren't a procrastinator.
Okay, fine. We're procrastinators, but not so much with this. It's just that because we're choosing to watch one episode a week and also allow time for people to engage with us online too, we can't just record a bunch of episodes all at once and then schedule them to go out. Again, sorry that this episode is late, but hope you'll forgive us.
All right. Are you ready to discuss this episode?
Yes. Before we do, I just want to remind everybody who's listening to follow and subscribe to this podcast. It really does help others find us. So if you have an Avatar fan in your life, whether this is their first time watching or they're a longtime fan, then share this podcast with them so that way they can join in on the conversation as well.
Agreed. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's begin. All right, so the episode T for this one, the title is Masks, very aptly named, of course. It is directed by Roseanne Liang, and teleplay, or the writing credits, apparently there's a difference between written by and teleplay by, and I guess written by, that means that both the teleplay and the story, both those credits go to the people that it says written by. But if those two things are split, then I guess you have to indicate who did the teleplay, who did the stories.
That's very fascinating, Pauline.
Yes. Anyways, so teleplay credits go to Emily Kim, Hunter Reese, I think is how you say it, and Brian Konietzko. So Brian, of course, being one of the original creators.
The Brian.
The other half of Break. And Roseanne Leong, she's the one that also directed the last episode. So I think this is the second that she has
directed. Which is why it's so great.
Well, the last episode wasn't my favorite, if I recall correctly.
The last episode or the last episode she did?
The previous episode before this one, which was the Spirit episode.
Spirited Away? You didn't like that?
Yeah, I remember I rated it lower than you did. Surprisingly.
I'm still listening to that.
With our episode T out of the way, let's go ahead and have you read our episode recap.
Let's get her done. Episode 6 picks up with Aang seeking guidance from Avatar Roku to defeat Ko, the Face Stealer, and Zuko facing challenges of his own in his mission to capture the Avatar. Beyond the immediate threat of Commander-turned-Admiral Zhao, Zuko grapples with long-standing issues with his father. This episode peels back the layers of Zuko's past, revealing a tragic tale of banishment following his compassionate but ill-received intervention in a War Council meeting. The forced Agni Kai with his father leaves Zuko scarred and banished. Back with Aang, his incursion into the Fire Nation is met with a confrontation with Fire Sages, misguided supporters of the Fire Lord who were once loyal to the Avatar. A sage named Shayu proves his faithfulness by helping Aang reach Roku's shrine. Aang's meeting with Roku hints at a tangled history with Ko involving a stolen totem of the Mother of Faces. Aang resolves to return the totem in exchange for his friends and villagers, but Roku warns him that friendship can be a liability, and he must be prepared to make sacrifices. Just as Aang prepares to return the totem, he is captured by Zuko, and then intercepted by Zhao. The ensuing rescue by a mysterious masked swordsman, soon revealed to be Zuko, leads to a budding, though complicated understanding between Aang and Zuko. The episode concludes with Zuko returning to his ship, and his crew giving him an unexpected hero's welcome after learning it was Zuko's selfless act that saved their division. Aang returns the totem to Ko, liberating Katara, Sokka, and the villagers. That was rough, buddy.
You did it. Okay, thank you for reminding us what happened in this episode. Do you want to go ahead and talk about our personal key moments?
Or you kind of skipped over the cabbage rating.
Oh, I did?
It's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Shall we reveal our cabbage ratings?
Okay, yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip over this part because I am very interested to see what yours is going to be. You can already see mine because it's here in the notes.
Yes, very shocking.
So I'll go ahead and give mine. I gave this one a 9.
Wow.
You sound so surprised.
No, it was a good episode.
Yes, this would be my highest rated episode so far. It's no surprise, especially since how much I've gushed about Iroh and Zuko in the series so far.
Is gushed a word? I think it's gushed.
Yeah, gushed. That's what I said.
Gushed?
Gushed.
No, gushed?
Gushed.
Okay, all right. Start gushing.
But yeah, because it was, I feel bad for saying this, but I think since Sokka and Katara and Aang kind of got pushed to the back burner a little bit, I think that's why I enjoyed this episode a little bit more, because I can't get enough of Iroh and Zuko and just everything with their past and their relationship. So
okay, well, we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
My cabbage rating,
lay it on me,
is an 8, which is
okay.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this episode, and I am ready to get into it, really. Do you want to go ahead and talk about our personal key moments?
Okay, now let's get into our key moments. So let's go ahead and start off with our Avatar State moment, which is what we consider to be the best moment for each of us. Do you want to go ahead and go first?
Yes, I had a very hard time with my notes because I enjoyed the episode, so I just was watching, seeing what I might miss and what I might be able to write down, but really it was a great episode all the way around. For my Avatar moment was I think the 41st Division learning that Zuko had saved their lives.
Yeah, I loved that. And I know we'll really talk about it because I feel like that was such a key moment, but that's a good one.
Yeah. Well, what's your Avatar State moment?
Like you said, it was very hard to do notes just because I was just absorbed into the episode. It was very hard to choose an Avatar State moment. I think this was the first time that I thought I was going to have a tie or even a three-way tie, but I narrowed it to just one. My favorite part was when Zuko's crew bowed down to him towards the end. It gave me chills. I think similar to you had mentioned in the Kyoshi Warriors episode when everybody bowed down to the Avatar. Yeah. And you said that kind of gave you chills and that was a cool moment. This had the same effect on me. And I thought it was just very powerful. It was a simple moment, but it was very powerful.
Do you think it was warranted?
I think he deserved that moment.
Okay. Well, we'll get into that.
Okay, what about your that's rough buddy moment? Wait, I gotta, let me see if I could do my best Dante voice. What about your that's rough buddy moment? Okay, or for those who don't know, would be your least favorite moment of the episode? Really,
I had to really nitpick on this, which was when the blue spirit, which is Zuko, comes in and rescues Aang, right? When he breaks his shackles. Uses his swords to break his shackles. Well, we know that Aang's hands and feet were shackled. But the blue spirit only unshackled his hands.
Is that so?
I rewinded it.
Oh, you did?
I rewinded it. I'm like, what's going on?
So he only undid the chains.
So I don't know how Aang walked out of there.
Were his legs unshackled?
No.
Or, I'm sorry, were his legs actually shackled?
Didn't Zhao say, hey, his hands and feet are shackled, and there were 4 guards? Get it right.
I couldn't tell if Zhao was saying that just to embellish the report.
I guess maybe. I guess I didn't rewind that much.
But I did wonder if both his arms and legs were shackled because I can't remember where I heard this or read this, but I believe that in the cartoon, only his arms were shackled. They wanted to animate it with both his arms and legs shackled. Right. But because I think Nickelodeon said, no, it's a kid's show and that was a little bit too much. So when we were watching this, I thought, oh, both his arms and legs are shackled. They can do that now because this is Netflix. So I do want to go back and see if...
that's nitpicking. It was hard to find a rough buddy moment, but that's it. What's yours?
So mine would be when Aang was speaking with Avatar Roku.
It was short.
It wasn't just the fact that it was... well, yeah, I guess it was short, and maybe this is why I feel this way. I almost forgot that this even happened after watching it. I went to rewatch it. I was like, oh yeah, he did speak with Avatar Roku. It was just kind of a meh moment for me that I completely forgot that it was there. And it shouldn't be like that because him meeting Avatar Roku should be this profound moment.
It's a big moment. But it was like, oh, okay, thanks, bye.
Yeah, it just didn't feel like it had the impact it needed to. This is also kind of nitpicking. I had to really think about what my rough buddy moment was, but it had to be that one.
I like your rough buddy moment.
It was a little bit, I don't know, it felt a little bit cringe. Okay, let's move on to our honorable mention or anything else that you liked.
Yes, it would be, and this is why I like Ozai, was the pain in Ozai's face when he was scarring or burning Zuko. You could tell that it almost looked like he didn't want to do it. It looked like it was painful for him to teach Zuko this lesson. But his sister sure looked like she enjoyed it.
Yes, I have thoughts about all of that. That's for sure. Because you're right. It was an added layer to Ozai. And I can't wait to talk about it.
I mean, he's supposed to be like the bad guy, but I don't know. Feel like he's trying to teach Zuko how to be a prince.
He's pulling you in. Or how to be the Fire Lord. He's pulling you in.
Yeah. Zaddy.
Zaddy Lord. Speaking of Zaddy Lord Ozai, so he was also part of my honorable mention. I was going to say just the whole Agni Kai, but maybe that would have been a cop-out for my honorable mention. So I'm going to be very specific. I'm going to say the moment that Zaddy Lord Ozai exploded out of his...
oh my God.
Exploded out of his cloak thing.
Nickelodeon would not approve.
I was like, boom, there it is.
You can't shackle feet, but you can bust out of that cloak.
Yeah, I very much liked that moment. So it was my honorable mention. I could have had 5 other honorable mentions, but I just had to give a special shout out to the cloak busting out part. Okay.
Move on.
Moving on. Are you ready to dive into this episode and really get into it?
Let's get after it.
Okay. I wanted to try really hard to not be all over the place when talking about this episode, but I think it's just going to be inevitable because this episode was kind of all over the place. It was very back and forth with the timeline, the A plot, the B plot. We're very much in the B plot here because we're not really focused on Aang's journey as much since this is very much a Zuko episode. Let's go ahead and get the theme out of the way. This was an episode where I feel like the themes were pretty obvious. I mean, it's in the title. This episode was very much about identity tied around expectations and sacrifice. And the question surrounding the theme is, what's the mask and what's our true self? And I think it goes for both Zuko and Aang, even though it is more overtly referring to Zuko. I think this could go for Aang as well. And so we'll talk about both our boys.
They're both trying to meet expectations of other people.
Yes, exactly. So let's go ahead and just get into everything with Zuko, starting with his flashbacks, because I feel like that was a good chunk of the episode. So we'll go ahead and talk about those. First, something really cool that almost made my Avatar state moment was the transitions. Did you notice the transitions between like present day Zuko and the flashback Zuko?
Yeah, no scar?
No, I mean, the way that they cut from one scene to the next. If you guys didn't notice this, you need to go back and watch it because I thought that they did it pretty well, especially if this is the sort of stuff that you appreciate. But most of the transitions going back and forth between timelines, it would show Zuko and then cut to the flashback, and I don't know how to explain in words because it's such a visual thing, but it's showing him in the same position.
He's moving into the transition.
Yeah, like it's just cut so well. And, you know, whether it's going into the flashback or going out of the flashback, it's really showing the connection between past and present Zuko. But I
noticed it.
Yes. My favorite one, though, was whenever they cut from Zuko in present day when Aang knocked him unconscious. And so he's laying there. And then it cut to him in the past getting ready to have the Agni Kai. And just the way the camera movement and it was chef's kiss. So that's my nerding out for today as far as cinematography goes. But I'm telling you guys, go back and watch the transitions because they were amazing.
Agreed, they did a good job.
Let's talk about the very first flashback. The whole episode started right in a flashback. And it was before Zuko was getting ready to enter his very first War Council meeting. Yeah, no scar. We get to see Zuko, what he would have looked like without his scar. Because I don't think they had shown that up until this point. And we get to see the Fire Nation during the day.
Yeah, there was light out.
You remember when you said in a previous podcast episode, you said, like, is it always nighttime there? But
they're evil.
It's like, it can't be because, you know, the sun, it's kind of a big part of it.
That's where they draw their power.
And I just loved getting to see more of Zuko's and Iroh's relationship with one another before his banishment. And to see what that was like before they had to spend all that time together on a ship.
He was so innocent. He wanted to make sure he was wearing his outfit correctly and made sure he was looking good, looking fly.
It was so cute. But I was already feeling sad there because I knew it was coming. And I was like, oh, poor, sweet, innocent Zuko. And of course, Iroh is just always there for him.
Yeah, gave him some pretty good advice.
Yeah. Can you do this with your hair? Because there's this piece that's sticking up and I keep
No one can see it.
I can see it. Okay, You're good now. Thank you. Okay, and then to the second flashback. This was during the actual War Council meeting. And they mentioned the 41st Division, which I need to go ahead and say, I forgot that that division was the 41st Division. I think in one of our first episodes, we had a listener that referenced the 41st Division, and I thought, oh, is this like a comic book thing? Because I forgot that in the cartoon, they even called it the 41st Division. So I apologize for that, but it was from the OG cartoon. So yeah, they bring up the 41st Division and their whole plan that leads to Zuko
They're going to sacrifice the 41st Division.
Now I understand more why in previous episodes they have Zuko have these brief lines about, like in the Spirited Away episode, he was reluctant to hire a mercenary because he didn't think that was right. Or in the Omashu episode, he couldn't believe that Fire Nation would resort to tactics that weren't honorable.
He's very honorable.
Yes, so now we see here, this is where it comes from. He was always an honorable type of prince. What I didn't like was the way that one general spoke to him. After he spoke up, I think as a General Lee.
Well, he's not wrong the way he spoke to him, because children shouldn't be playing war.
But that's your prince. You're speaking to your prince that way?
And he's a war general.
Okay, I think prince is...
Stay in your lane, Zuko.
I don't know. I was just surprised, like, oh, you're going to talk to your prince that way?
He was also, that's also the Fire Lord's plan, too.
I felt like there wasn't a need for that snide remark. That's just me.
You do if you're in the Fire Nation.
I guess so. My goodness. What are your thoughts on how Ozai was portrayed here? Because in the cartoon, usually we saw him sitting up on his throne. He wasn't... you very much had this feeling that he was above everybody else. But here, he was actually down on the floor level with everybody, almost like more humanized, if that makes sense.
Well, Uncle Iroh had said something about how they used to be private war meetings, but now his brother likes the attention. If he's liking the attention, he's going to get down there and mingle and take their ideas, and it's his plan now. As he said that, you think my plan's stupid or whatever he said. But yeah, I mean, he likes the spotlight.
Yeah. I can see how he has garnered such a following, which is a scary thing, because that's how it is in real life too, that there's a reason people are following somebody who may seem like that they're bad, because they must have something about their personality that draws other people in. I just thought it was interesting that I don't know if more likable is the word I want to use here, because he's bad. But
is he?
I think clearly he's bad.
He's just trying to spread the wealth of the Fire Nation to the world. Let's keep an open mind here. All right, let's move on to the Agni Kai.
The Agni Kai flashback. This one had a lot of changes from the original cartoon. First of all, Zuko fights back, whereas in the cartoon, he doesn't fight back.
At all.
And I know you have thoughts about this, so tell me what your thoughts are on the changes that Netflix made here.
I liked it. I also like that he hesitated when he could have struck his father with a serious blow. And you realize that Ozai realized that as well. He knew he was holding back at that moment. And he was very disrespectful for not giving it his all.
So you liked the change then?
I loved it.
I thought you didn't like it.
No, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
The reason why I thought you didn't was because it changes the reason that Zuko gets burned.
I like how they replace that with you're showing a sign of disrespect for not giving it your all, for holding back. To be a leader, you can't hold back. So I like the change.
I was on the fence about it, but I did like the fight sequence, and eventually they got to the same result. I think what bothers me a little bit is that it shows even back then Zuko was already very skilled. And I guess it was always my impression that Zuko wasn't always the skilled fighter that he is now, especially compared to his sister. But I think maybe it's because I'm pulling knowledge from the comics a little bit and feeling more of Zuko's background with that.
Well, we were always told there was a learning curve for him in the cartoon. So that he wasn't getting it as fast as his sister was, picking up the bending. But no, he's got some moves.
I'm interested to see if that changes the dynamic between him and Azula moving forward.
Well, it has to if she doesn't feel like she's superior over him.
Right. That'll be a big difference. You mentioned Ozai's expression whenever he was burning Zuko and how it looked like he did feel bad for doing so. I don't know how I feel about that. But you said that you liked that.
Yeah.
How come?
Because it was almost him expressing compassion and guilt, but also knowing that he needed to teach this lesson. To become the superior Fire Lord, this is what you have to go through. What did you think about Ozai's expression?
I was also on the fence about this one. At first, I didn't like it because it is humanizing Ozai a little bit more, but I do like morally gray characters, that there's no black or white. There's no like pure evil, pure good characters. But like I said, I think it's just because of what I know of the series, and his expression made it seem like he really does want better for Zuko. But if that's the case, that's not the Ozai I know.
Well, that's okay. This is this is a live action.
I know.
They brought the human to Ozai. I mean, you have to remember he's doing what he thinks is right. He doesn't think what he's doing is bad.
I guess I just never knew Ozai to be one that actually wants Zuko to be the next Fire Lord. That's all. But I think I've come around. Any additional layers you can add to these characters from the cartoon is, for the most part, a good thing. So I am just anxious to see how it's going to play out in future seasons.
Agreed.
Let's get to the final flashback. So this is after the Agni Kai. Ozai comes in to see Zuko. And again, this is another thing I am on the fence about, whether or not that I like that Ozai actually comes in to, I don't know if he comes in to check up on Zuko. Probably not. But
why wouldn't he? It's his son.
Because it's Fire Lord Ozai.
He's showing that he loves his son.
Does he, though? That's
definitely
the thing.
Has feelings for him.
I think that's my big question. Does this mean he actually loves his son and that he wants his son to become better so that he can become the Fire Lord? Because if that's so, then this is a big change for me that I'm going to have to accept, and I hope it pays off in the end.
I'm betting it does.
I hope so.
I love what they're doing.
Yes, and this is where we get his whole compassion is weakness quote that triggers Zuko. I wonder, I've said this in previous episodes too, some of these characters, the quotes that they say, I feel like it's coming from the characters' experiences. So I'm interested to see if this whole compassion is weakness thing, which was not part of Ozai's character in the cartoon, if this is going to come back at some point, and if we're going to get more of a backstory to Ozai himself and why he's like this. I feel
Maybe they'd have to extend the series, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I feel like they can do anything, or try to anyways. Whether or not it's going to be good, we'll see.
I like new things.
I do too. I just, for some reason, this one left me feeling a little bit nervous about what they're going to do with Ozai. But like I said, I'm hopeful that it does pay off. This is also the scene where we learn about Zuko's banishment and how he got his crew. The latter being something completely new to fans of the original. They made the 41st Division his crew that he takes with him.
That they were going to sacrifice.
Yes. I really loved that they made that connection. And I think it was incredible writing. So props to the writers for this one. What did you think?
It was really good. Although Zuko, I guess he voiced his disapproval of them sacrificing the 41st, which I guess saves them. But Ozai is really the one that saved them. He's like, since you care about them so much, you can have them. I mean, Zuko wasn't like, give them to me. I'll take them.
That's an interesting way of
Ozai
framing
saved
it.
Them. Once again, Ozai, maybe not that bad of a dude. I don't know. So who did they sacrifice? Did they add this? They sacrificed the 42nd Division or what? The 40th?
Or maybe they ended up coming up with a completely different plan. I don't know, but
dang it, Zuko! Now we have to come up with a plan where we don't sacrifice someone.
I will disagree about Ozai being the one.
He's the one that saved them.
But the whole reason that Zuko needed a crew in the first place is because he stood up for them.
Okay, but he wasn't asking for the 41st Division. He was probably asking for the 3rd Division.
He wouldn't be asking for any division because he doesn't want to be banished. But anyways, yes, incredible writing. I think, okay, so the only thing though, it was perfect up until like just a small thing that almost ruined the whole sentiment for me. Netflix's Avatar has this problem with over-explaining. And I've mentioned this before, but you know, after that whole sweet scene about Iroh telling Lieutenant G that the 41st Division became Zuko's crew, they could have left it at that. But then Lieutenant G had to be like, well, wait, we're the 41st Division.
Maybe he just remembered.
But here's the thing. They didn't have to do that. This is what I keep saying. They imply something.
You're nitpicking.
Yes, I am nitpicking. They imply something and we understand it. Like, it would have been more impactful.
Maybe not
if they
everyone understands it. I mean, there's younger people watching this.
It's over-explaining. It's going too far and it's making it seem cheesier than it needs to be. And they should have just left it unspoken, because sometimes the most beautiful lines are the unspoken ones. That was almost a rough buddy moment for me. Don't you think that they've over-explained some things in almost every episode?
Well, it's a live action, so they're playing off the cartoon.
But that's the thing.
What's the thing?
This is not a cartoon. And we're not kids. Most of the people watching this, their audience,
I didn't see a problem with it. Yes, was it stupid? Yes, it was stupid, but they could have just went with his facial expression of being sad and understanding, but no.
Yeah, I think that would have been more beautiful if Lieutenant G got like a little bit teary-eyed and was left to his thoughts. But with Lieutenant G, though, I did like how he had the line at the very beginning about Zuko not knowing anything about sacrifice, and then wrapping it up nicely, full circle moment here, with him learning that it was because of Zuko's sacrifice that they are alive.
Yes, and Zuko did it was very powerful, where he felt his sacrifice in his acting.
Yes.
In the bed, where that last shot of him with his head up in the air, and the pain he was going through.
It was heartbreaking. Dallas's acting and how he portrayed that moment. You felt for Zuko. You were heartbroken for him.
Yeah, Dallas is kicking butt.
Yes, I agree. As far as these flashbacks go, is there anything that in your notes
that
let's
you wanted to mention?
Aang. Okay, we'll move on to Aang, and of course we'll come back and talk about the both of them. With Aang, even though this episode wasn't really about him, there was still a lot going on with him. So it starts off with him visiting Roku's shrine, which I thought was such a great shot when he was flying into the Fire Nation. And what is that, Crescent Island, right? The color and the whole shot was beautiful. It almost gave me Game of Thrones vibes. All those beautiful like wide shots of the landscape, and it makes you want to actually go visit that place.
And it looked spot on. It looked like I was watching the cartoon.
Yes. I felt like that throughout the whole episode, really. Mm-hmm. But
this was the first episode where it was like they were going shot for shot with the cartoon. It looked like. I mean, I know they didn't, but it was like I was watching the cartoon.
Yeah. It was the best adapted episode, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And I don't think we're alone in that sentiment. But, oh my gosh, just that shot with him flying in was beautiful. Meets Shayu, the fire sage. And the part where Shayu is facing off with, I shouldn't say face off. It's not like, I don't think there is a great big battle, but he stood up to the other fire sages. It was another example of a young idealist challenging the views of people who are older and wiser and have more experience. And I've already said this in multiple episodes, that this is kind of a continuing theme here as well, because it makes sense. I mean, the original show was for kids, so of course it's going to be from the viewpoint of kids. So
yeah, stick it to the man.
Yeah, exactly. Shayu is the reason that Aang gets to see Avatar Roku. What are your thoughts? Because I have
on Roku.
Because I have thoughts. Yeah, just that whole scene, or even Roku himself, because this is the first time we're seeing him.
First time seeing him and hearing him, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
So I didn't know Roku was going to be playful. I thought he would be more serious, but I guess they went with the seriousness with Kyoshi. Mm-hmm. And then Roku was like, "Avert your eyes, bow to your elders, hop on one leg." And Aang's like, "What's going on here?"
Did you like that?
I thought it was funny. Yeah, I liked it because he's like, quit being so serious. But I thought it was just short, like we talked about. Aang didn't really. He was like, "Hey, Ko, how do I do this? Totem, cool, out."
Yeah, I was like, oh, we don't really have much time for Roku in this episode, but we have to have Roku in this episode. So here's how we're going to do it and just be quick about it. Which honestly, I'm okay with it being short because then it just meant more time for Zuko. And also, I don't think I'm a big fan of Roku's portrayal at the moment. I understand what you're saying about how maybe they wanted to have more of a contrast to Avatar Kyoshi and show an Avatar that is a little bit more lighthearted, or maybe they're trying to make him more like, this is only a very slight spoiler alert, but not really too much, what he was like when he was alive and like his younger self. I don't know, I just felt very cheesy. And also because we already have 2 humorous older guides to our main characters in this series. We have Gyatso and we have Uncle Iroh. So I feel like throwing a third one in the mix with a similar vibe is just a little bit too much.
I think it's okay. I understand what they were doing, which Roku said was, you're not the same Avatar. You're your own person. You are you. You don't have to be us. So
yeah, I did like that.
What did you think of the Roku interaction overall?
I mean, it was a lot of exposition. I don't know if a first-time watcher would have been able to follow it, or maybe they could have followed it, but it's like, why do I care? So the totem that we find out is what was stolen from Ko. It was the totem of the Mother of Faces. Who is Ko's mother? I'm curious, as someone who was not a comic book reader, did you understand the whole totem Mother of Faces thing? Or
I understand that she was the spirit of, or the Mother of Faces. Like, I get that she gave everyone their identity, basically. And Roku stealing that took away his family. Basically, was taking away his mother, right? He wants what everyone else wants, which is family.
Right. I'm trying to watch it from a first-time watcher's perspective. It just made me wonder, are other people going to get this or care, because this is something pulled from the comics, because it didn't explain, there was no explanation. But the cool thing about them bringing in the Mother of Faces is now I feel like they have to bring it back at some point. So that means there's a very important storyline in the comics that hopefully they'll bring
intertwine.
Yes. And if we get there, I'm very interested to see your reaction and what you think about all of that. But yeah, it was since it was so quick, it's like, oh, Mother Faces, okay, cool, bye. And it leaves more questions than answers.
And that the totem was just there the whole time.
Yeah.
Or did Roku transport it there?
Oh, no. It was in his shrine the whole time because he had possession of it. Shayu mentions that, oh, here are all of Roku's possessions.
Okay.
Very convenient, right?
Yeah.
And somehow Aang was allowed to hold on to it even when he
very
was
cool that
arrested.
the totem was like the mouse were moving.
Okay, that was cool. Oh, one thing I don't want to gloss over is Roku did mention that friends can be a liability. Going back to what I said with Ozai saying compassion is weakness, Roku saying friends can be a liability. He's saying that for a reason as well. I can't wait to see how that's going to tie back
Every
into the story.
superhero has to worry about it.
So after Aang's little chit-chat with Roku, he gets captured by June for Zuko. And I wish we had more of the Shirshu in this episode because its vision was very cool. That orange and blue.
Yeah. Hey, was Shayu dead?
I don't know.
Okay.
We didn't see a body, though.
I think we did.
Are you sure?
In the background, because everyone else's, all the other fire sages' bodies were glowing red from their heat, but I don't think Shayu's was glowing.
Could you tell it was Shayu?
I think so.
What? Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go back and look. Don't tell me he died. Because I was hoping that maybe the Shirshu came in and paralyzed everybody before they could roast Shayu.
We're just proving that compassion is a weakness.
I'm just saying, as a rule, if we don't see a body, I don't consider the person
Well, he's
dead.
not the bad guy. So.
But if you're saying there is a body, I'm going to be very sad now. And yeah. Back to the Shirshu, though. You're not going to understand this reference at all, but the blue and orange, it reminded me of Final Fantasy, The Spirits Within, that movie. I don't think I've had you watch that, have I?
No.
It looks like blue and like orange spirits almost. So we gotta watch that. I think, do we own it?
Can we get through this first?
Yeah. Promise you'll watch it with me though?
Yeah, of course.
Let's see. And then real quick on June, since she's in this scene too. June gave us kind of the first insight to what a non-bender could possibly think of the bending world. When she's talking to Aang, she's like, I've got the world figured out. You have your earthbenders, your firebenders, your waterbenders, and they're always fighting for something. So if you're smart enough, you pretty much just have to sit back and let them do their thing, and then you can swoop in. And I don't remember what she says, but...
It's about getting the scraps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really liked that they added this conversation because everything has been so focused on benders, with the exception of Sokka. But we know Sokka's already has his own hang-ups with his dad and everything. But the other people in this world that are not benders, it kind of reminded me of like the first season of The Legend of Korra, getting more insight into how a non-bender fits into this world. What did you think?
Well, she's pay to play. They pay her to play.
Do you agree with her? She's like, I think the world is fine just the way it is.
Of course I don't. I mean, there's people, families dying because of the Fire Nation. So no, I don't agree with what she's saying.
I mean, I don't agree either.
Okay.
But it shows like another side of this war.
She's just learned how to capitalize.
Yes, very true. Okay, and one last thing about Aang being captured. Why didn't Aang airbend at all when he was captured in Zuko's wagon and then eventually transferred over to Zhao? He did zero airbending. I feel like
they brought in a ton of soldiers, so maybe he just thought they were so outnumbered that...
What about when he was alone with Zuko and Iroh?
We can argue this, but that's just...
He could have airbended. I feel like they're holding back on Aang a little bit, but...
Because in the cartoon, he got captured, okay?
Because the plot says so. Okay, so that was Aang. So now I feel like we can talk about the Blue Spirit Rescue. And I want to start this portion of the conversation off by talking about Zhao, actually. We have our whole theme of identity and masks and what's really the mask, and I feel like this episode is really where he took off his quote-unquote mask and is showing his true colors. Not to us as the audience, because we already knew something has been up with Zhao this whole time, but taking off his mask to Zuko, because now he's shown his hand and what his ultimate goal is.
He's Admiral Zhao.
Yeah, I still really like Zhao, though, as as a character, as an actor.
I'm realizing more and more he's really boring, and
Really?
that's why he's overlooked as a,
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. There's nothing necessarily exciting about him.
Yeah.
And that's probably why he's just longing for that glory. And because of Zhao, we also get introduced to the Yuyan archers, which I thought they were cool.
Yeah. Poor Uncle Iroh's ponytail.
His bun.
Little bun on the top. Yeah.
I don't think it cut his bun off, though. I think
Zoe
it was
watched it
just
twice and she was like, "Oh!" every time. Oh.
R.I.P. But I don't think it's dead, though. I think it just took off the.
Dead?
I just think it just took off the thing that holds their buns.
The things that hold
their hair. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, of course.
I love the face paint on the Yuan archers. It kind of reminds me of the
They're
Kyoshi
BA.
warriors.
They can cut the wings off a glowfly. What should they have said there, Zoe? Firefly. They had every opportunity to make it a firefly.
Because it's fire.
And they said glowfly. Like, do you think like he messed up that line? They're like, let's just keep going.
No, I think...
Glowfly.
Okay, I'm
You
gonna
said
have to,
firefly.
I'm gonna have to fact check this, but I think they said glowfly in the cartoon. And two, you can't say firefly because that's a thing in our real world. It has to be different. Quick question: in the showdown between Yuyan archers and Kyoshi warriors, who do you think would win?
Oh, the Kyoshi warriors.
You think so?
Yeah. Good triumphs evil.
True. Okay, but tactically speaking, you have a group that most of their fighting strategy is distance because they're archers, and then with the Kyoshi warriors, all of theirs is mostly up close.
I would say it
combat.
depends on how many arrows they got.
I'm gonna guess a lot if that's how they.
Kyoshi warriors have shields. They could just block
Oh
until
yeah,
they run out
true.
of ammo.
That's true. Okay, we'll have to put a pin in that
Checkmate.
for later. Oh, and also I know we're supposed to be talking about the Blue Spirit Rescue, but before we get to what was it, Pohai Stronghold, or I can't remember the name of the prison, but the way Zuko reacted to Zhao taking Aang, he's showing his frustration that he just lost the Avatar again. The way he screamed when he burst out, and yeah,
I nailed it.
When he did that, I was like, that sounds like Zuko. From the cartoon. That is Zuko.
We already said Dallas is killing it.
Okay, so about the Blue Spirit Rescue itself, what are your thoughts on how they adapted this whole sequence?
I wish the getaway was longer, but I understand you're cut for time. They still did the walking on stilts was fun. Aang's airbending was awesome during all that. I liked it. What did you think?
It was a really good adaptation. And probably the most well-adapted scene, if we're talking about, not necessarily shot for shot, but just how well they took the cartoon and how it translated to live action. What you said earlier, it felt like I was watching the cartoon almost. The setting was spot on and resembled the cartoon quite a bit. Because I even went back to the cartoon and watched little clips of that too. And it's like they really nailed it. How everything looked, felt, the music even. So I just thought it was probably one of the best the best adapted scenes of the whole series so far. With the time that they had, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
And afterwards, they had the addition of a longer conversation between Aang and Zuko compared to the cartoon. Did you like everything they added?
I did, because it showed Zuko almost smiling at Aang because he said something funny. I can't remember what he said, but it was pretty funny, and Aang or Zuko looked like he was enjoying Aang's company. Once Aang said that compassion. And then,
as a trigger. I did like that Aang attempted to relate to Zuko and find some common ground with him, which I think is very Avatar-like of him. Finding common ground with your enemy. And he mentioned the notebook and how it was the notebook that actually informed Aang and helped him about the previous avatars. And, he stayed up to read Zuko's notebook and said, so you helped me a lot, and then changed it to, well, your notebook helped me a lot. But he's right. Zuko, in an indirect way.
Yeah, Zuko's fascination with Aang, not knowing it was Aang, but with capturing the Avatar, yeah.
So
that was cool.
I thought that was sweet, even though I'm sure Zuko probably wouldn't have appreciated that fact that he had a hand in
He apologized for stealing it.
Yeah, but I mean, just the fact that knowing that you helped the person that you're trying to capture, which I mean, he technically did this episode rescuing him. So that's interesting. That's another layer to it. This is also where they had their conversation about expectations. Aang mentions the expectations put on him for being the Avatar. And I mean, that's the reason why Aang, I feel like, is also wearing a mask, so to speak. Would you agree that the whole mask metaphor applies to him too?
That's what his talk with Roku was about. I mean, be your own avatar. You don't have to be Kyoshi. You don't have to, you are your own person.
Roku probably has a hand in helping Aang take off that quote-unquote mask. So that's another thing that him and Zuko have in common. Obviously, they both carry the burden of expectations, and they're both wearing a mask because of those expectations. And like you said, Zuko is triggered by the mention of compassion, and that's what causes him to put that mask back on, because clearly you could see that Aang was kind of getting through to him, but then Aang kind of took it too far by telling Zuko that he doesn't have to be like his father, basically implying like, hey, your dad is not a good guy. You don't have to be like him. And I feel like there's some part of Zuko that knows that, but then realizing that also makes him angry and says, how dare you? Because it's like, how dare you try to turn me against my father or make me think that way? But yeah, that whole compassion thing was just the switch.
Yeah. Zuko's very honorable, and yeah, you shouldn't talk about his dad like that.
It was a good way of showing Zuko's inner conflict. But Aang and Zuko's time together concludes with Zuko being back on a boat.
Yeah, and they did the line.
Which
I'm
line?
really glad. In a different time or back then, you think
something that Aang says?
we would have been friends.
Yeah, I would
Do you
have been
think-
mad if they didn't put
I'm
that
glad
line
they put that in there.
Yeah.
And they did a really good job of Zuko firing at him and Aang airbending away and also pushing the boat away at the same time.
So I feel like there's just a lot of symbolism going on there. It was a good added scene. So then that leads us to the conclusion of this episode. Aang and Zuko are putting their masks back on, and Zuko goes back to being the loyal prince that's expected of him.
I don't know if Aang's putting his mask back on. Is he?
The only reason I say yes is because Aang is then going back to his avatar duties and trying to save everybody,
But he should be changed.
Huh?
Aang's going to be more changed. There's going to be more of an effect immediately with Aang than they will show with Zuko.
That's true. Do you think the seed has been planted with both of them, though?
Yeah, of course.
But you're right. I think Zuko has a much longer journey to go.
Overall, this episode's got me ready to watch the next episode.
I agree. We talked about Zuko's crew bowing down to him and how that was a good scene. And, when Zuko goes to his room and he lays down. Have you heard of the fan theory about Zuko only laying on his good side whenever Iroh is around? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I mean, I get what you're saying. No, I haven't heard that theory.
So there's this fan theory that, at least for the cartoon, I don't know if this tracks with the Netflix version, but the theory is that you only ever see Zuko laying on his good side without the scar, only whenever Iroh is around. And so that indicates that he feels safe enough with Iroh because he probably doesn't hear as well or see as well on his scarred side. He only leaves that side exposed whenever Iroh is around. So this scene, when Zuko lays down in his bed, Iroh is in the room and he lays on his right side, which is his good side, leaving his scarred side, exposed. So I wonder if Netflix is picking up on this fan theory and if they're going to take it. And
that's interesting.
So I'm going to keep an eye out for that in the future if they ever show Zuko sleeping again. So that's that fan theory for anybody that hasn't heard of that. And I think that's where it leaves off with Zuko. And then with Aang, Katara, Sokka, and the other villagers get saved because Aang returns the totem. I felt like the whole Ko thing is very anticlimactic. Did you?
Yeah, like we don't have time for this. It's a trade-off. There's something about that totem that is huge because he gave up a lot of victims.
Yeah.
That prisoner release was...
How was Aang so sure that Ko was going to
is the totem going to give Ko more power?
I mean, there was no confirmation that if Aang gives this totem back to Ko, Ko is going to release everybody. There is also no conversation between him and Ko at the end. Aang lays it down and we see Ko a little bit and he backs off and releases everybody, which... I mean, I thought it was like a beautiful scene and everything, but you could tell it's like, okay, we need to wrap this up and finish up this storyline with
Ko's definitely coming back, though. That totem's huge.
We will see. We will see what comes of it. Oh, and then I almost forgot. Aang going back to Gyatso's, I don't know what that was, his like house or place that he was staying at in the spirit world, and he's gone.
Yeah, that was super sad.
I knew he was gonna be gone.
Yeah. What did they say? Something about time and I don't know, but it was super sad.
Even though I knew he wasn't gonna be there, it was still heartbreaking, and it doesn't explain exactly why he's not there. Which I mean, I think is fine because then we're left to kind of fill in the blanks. We discussed it a little bit in the previous podcast episode that maybe once Gyatso feels like he's done what his duty is, which is guiding Aang, then
he gets to move on to the next stage of enlightenment.
Yeah, but it's like, Gyatso, couldn't you have just waited just a little bit and at least have a goodbye?
I like the sad ending. I think it's the first time they've done like a not so uplifting ending,
Which I do like. I'm a sucker for the sad moments, but gosh, it was just so heartbreaking. And I'm worried that it won't feel like closure to Aang.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see what they do.
I have a theory surrounding Gyatso and Iroh, actually, our daughter Zoe. She asked this, I think, after the last time we rewatched it. She was wondering how come it's Iroh that's narrating this episode. And, you know, you could easily say, well, this is an episode about Zuko, so maybe that's why Iroh is narrating it, because Iroh to Zuko is like Gyatso to Aang.
So what's your theory?
So my theory is that maybe moving forward, we won't have any more narrations from Gyatso, and maybe Iroh is going to be the one to take over the narrations. Of course, other people listening who've already seen the rest of the season, they know whether that's true or not, but
yeah, they're rolling their eyes at you. I quit looking into it so much.
But I think my theory is that Iroh narrated this episode because Gyatso has moved on. Because in other episodes, it was always Gyatso, right?
Sure.
Gyatso and Iroh kind of play similar roles for our two young
they're mentors.
Characters. Yeah, they're mentors. And yeah, I think now that Gyatso's no longer, like, really, really not here, then we won't have any more narration from him. Do you think I'm right?
I think yeah, I don't think
I'm
you're right.
looking into it too much?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think just let him narrate. Maybe Roku will narrate the next one.
I kind of hope not. Sorry, Roku. Like, no disrespect, but yeah, no. We'll see.
We will see.
We'll watch the next one, and then one of us can be like, ha! Or maybe there just won't be any narration. But
You know
I'm
what?
okay with that too.
Let's go ahead and get into our favorite bending moments.
Okay. Was there anything else in your notes, though, about analyzing this episode that we didn't get to?
I don't have
Anything
anything. No, I didn't take a lot of notes.
Okay.
Just because I enjoyed the episode so much. And I'm enjoying talking to you.
Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you said favorite bending moment?
What is your favorite bending moment of this episode?
Okay. Well, I feel like I've been talking so much, so I will let you go first.
Okay. Mine was Aang airbending during their escape.
Which part specifically?
I mean, just all of his airbending. Really, it was cool. I liked it. What was yours? Oh no!
You just looked at the notes.
Jump on my back.
No, you saw that it was already in my notes.
I didn't see it.
Mine is Aang airbending, specifically when he and Zuko were on the wall and it did the slow-mo, like... Wait, that was a bad sound effect. How does it go?
That wasn't very good. But yeah, he also pushed Zuko back as well.
Yeah, and it's
was good.
it's a reminder that, what do you call it whenever, it's like when you're playing a video game and you're attacking, but you can also hurt your teammates.
Yeah, it's friendly fire.
Friendly fire. I mean, you got to be careful with your bending, especially if you have allies around you.
What if you look into that?
I just did, and I just thought of something. And
stop it, Pauline. I was joking, so stop. No one wants to hear your
But I think it was supposed to happen in this season. It happened in book 1. Anyways,
I don't know if anyone can hear our dog biting on his bone.
Oh no, yeah, that's right. Baymax.
So loud.
Yeah, if you guys hear like grinding in the back,
but I guess
dog.
if I was being like specific,
Baymax.
If I was being like Pacific,
don't
like the ocean. When Aang brings up all the dust to cover him and Zuko's escape, that was pretty. It was a cool bending moment.
I forgot about that one. Okay, yeah, that's also a good one. I'm still sticking with my.
I know you want to pick. You want to pick what I picked.
No. Okay, what about your favorite character?
I would say in this episode, my favorite.
Are you gonna say
character?
Is it Ozai?
No.
Oh.
No, I think my favorite character was probably Iroh. Just because we got a lot of explanation from Iroh, and obviously he was narrating, so we heard more from Iroh. He was my favorite character. Who was yours?
Well, before we stopped talking about Iroh, I just remembered at the end, whenever Zuko is walking past his crew and they're all bowing down to him. Did you notice that Iroh had a tear? He shed a tear.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
He didn't deserve that bow down.
Whatever.
No,
we didn't talk about
I didn't have a favorite character because they all did a great job. I had a least favorite character.
Who is?
Aang.
Do we need to make that a new
It
segment?
was Aang.
Why?
And look, I understand that the actor
Gordon.
He's just a young kid. But you can really tell that he's acting.
Yeah, I can agree there. No shade to
It's
him,
okay.
but,
No shade.
Because,
He's getting better.
yeah, I think it's just a matter of somebody trying to adapt a cartoon character to live
And maybe it's
action.
the way they're editing his scenes that make him, I don't know. Maybe they want him to seem more,
cartoon character-like.
I guess, maybe.
That's fair. I can see where you're coming from.
Who was your favorite character?
My favorite... Okay, you already know.
No,
Take a guess.
Did he shed a tear?
No. Wait. Yes.
You just told me he did. Is it Zuko?
It's Zuko! My boy Zuko! I mean, come on, this whole episode was about him, and this was my favorite episode, so of course it's Zuko. He shed many tears.
Yeah.
But, I mean, Zuko stole the show.
Well, I mean, it was his episode, so he better be good.
But he killed it, just like you said, and I feel like he is, for me, he's stealing the show with the whole series so far, with this season. Him and Iroh.
I've been on that boat. I agree.
So, it's just got to be Zuko.
Okay, do we have anything to report in the hybrid animal department?
No,
We don't.
I even looked back and I didn't find any new animals. We still had the ostrich horse. We had the sheer shoe, which we talked about already a little bit, but there wasn't anything new.
What is going on?
So I don't know. Maybe there just isn't a budget for. Can we start a GoFundMe?
Okay, how many episodes can we have Momo and...
I know, right? Did we even get? Well, I guess at the end they did show Momo and Appa just a little bit. But I mean, like I said, I would have loved to see more of the sheer shoe. One thing we didn't get in this episode that was in the cartoon was the sheer shoe and Appa showdown. So they did leave that
and
whole
blinding
part out.
the Shearshu. That could
With
be
the perfume.
That could be a spoiler. We don't know.
I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen or not. And, well...
Could. She could return. June could return.
I hope June returns, because I like her character.
Yeah, she drinks a lot.
How do you know a lot? She took one sip.
There was a couple drinks there.
I don't know.
She's got problems. She
I'm
needs
a fan
help.
of June. So yeah, nothing really with the hybrid animals. So let's go ahead and jump to our memorable quotes. What was your favorite quote?
My favorite quote came literally at the end of the show.
So was it Iroh?
It was Iroh. It was, sometimes the mask is who we really are.
Boom, the theme. So yeah.
The theme. What a twist. Yeah, that was. I had to wait till the very end because there wasn't a ton of memorable quotes in this.
Really? I felt the opposite. I thought that there were too many quotes.
Or maybe that's what it was. Yeah, maybe there was just too much to go off of.
And so that there wasn't like one that like stood out. I agree with you there. You're right. That was my problem. There were so many good quotes that it was hard to find one that really stood out amongst them all.
What is your favorite?
So what I chose Zuko. I'm surprised. It's something Zuko said when he said, sometimes the weak can become stronger and sometimes you just have to give them a chance.
Oh,
so
the 41st division. Boo-hoo.
So, I mean, it's a simple quote, but I think it wasn't necessarily just what he said, but how it was delivered. And I don't know, I like a good underdog story. And I think in life, you do just have to give people a chance.
But not the weak ones.
Sometimes you just have to give them a chance. And I can relate to that because there have been times in my life that it's like, you know, somebody gave me a chance whenever maybe they shouldn't have. And it was very helpful or proved to be life-changing or, whether it's a professional life or a personal life, you'd be surprised what can happen whenever you give people a chance.
I'm sure there are a ton of heartfelt stories out there.
Okay, do you have any last thoughts before we wrap everything up?
No,
I know we're not doing our question of the week this week because I don't think we got any.
We didn't get any?
Replies. No, but I did kind of put it out late too.
Okay, I'm sure they were replying, in their heads.
And this next question will probably be put out there late too, so we'll see if you get anything. So that's my bad.
No, I think just overall, this episode really had me conflicted, but in a good way. And conflicted in my feelings. Like I said, Ozai didn't seem as bad as what he is.
Yeah.
So I was very conflicted.
Me too.
With everyone.
And like you said, in a good way. It had me questioning things a little bit, and it made me re-examine what I thought I knew about some of the characters. And what I mean, like we keep saying, cartoon is a cartoon, and then this show is separate, so it does give us a fresh look.
Great job, Netflix.
Characters.
This episode was awesome.
Yes, loved it. I hope that Netflix keeps up this momentum. I do have a feeling, though, that this will probably be my highest rated episode of all of this season so far.
Bet.
We only have 2 episodes left. There's a lot to cram in, but I mean, it tracks with what the cartoon did. I know that we're headed to the North Pole, and I mean, it has to be, right? If I'm completely wrong, I'm going to be like, well, but I know we're headed to the North Pole. I'm assuming anyways, that's what the last 2 episodes are going to be, because in the cartoon, it did take 2 episodes to wrap everything up. So I am excited to see how that plays out. And I'm kind of worried about anything that they may have changed. So that's why I'm thinking this episode, Masks, is going to be my favorite. And I don't know if I'll feel as strongly about
Change
the next
is not
2.
always a bad thing.
I know. So I'm just nervous. Alrighty, let's go ahead and wrap everything up.
That's our show for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you've been enjoying these episodes, we would be grateful if you leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps other people find us. And if you don't want to miss out on any upcoming episodes, make sure to follow and subscribe to this podcast on all your favorite podcast apps.
And we would also love to connect with you guys. So we encourage you to follow our socials and join in on the conversation. Our Facebook and Instagram and TikTok pages TikTok pages can all be found under Avatar Nation Pod. So yeah, we would love to hear from you. So that's it for today. I'm Pauline.
And I'm Wes.
And you've been listening to Avatar Nation. See you next time.
Love ya.